Tongue Travel Production. Baby, make if you want to, 'cause you're safe with me, so just stay with me. Oh, every day is like a holiday. Sleeping if you want, sit, relax, unwind and kick back. So broken, yet I noticed, and the weight of the world's got you hopeless. Nothing's greater, nothing's better. You just sit and you wait to come home. You got the fire in your hands, but the world's too demanding. Spreading the blood to be paralyzed. No more worries, let's get settled.
Hello and welcome to the first segment of the Women of Indy Internet Talk Show. I'm your host and producer, Denise Hill. The Women of Indy Internet Talk Show is focused on motivating, inspiring, and educating women across the country on finances, fitness and health, relationships, and so much more. Today's segment, we will be talking about domestic violence and abuse. Domestic violence and abuse can happen to anyone, yet the problem is often overlooked, denied, and excused. This is true, particularly when it comes to psychological rather than physical. Noticing and acknowledging signs of an abusive relationship is the first step to putting an end to it. On this segment, we will talk about the different types of abuse, the signs of abuse, how to put an end to it, and where to get help. So stay tuned to be inspired and meet my co-host of the Women of Indy Internet Talk Show.
Something about you makes me want you so bad, baby. No more worries, let's get settled, baby.
I'm here with my co-host, and I'm going to let them introduce themselves. Starting to my right.
I am Jada Barnes, and
Tell us a little bit about Jada Barnes.
okay, well, Jada Barnes has a YouTube channel also. I do underground artists of all genre. I'm a manager of one of the rap artists that I have done work with, and he asked me to be his manager, so now I'm his manager. I am a mother of one, and I'm a widow. My husband passed almost 9 years ago. So, and Jada likes to have fun.
Hi, my name is Donna Floyd. I'm the wife of Pastor Sean Floyd. I'm an evangelist myself. I had wrote a book last year called Hide Behind the Mask. It was basically talking about who and whose you are in Christ Jesus. It's basically talking about the mask is not who you are. It's a misrepresentation or of somebody else, but it's not who you are. But I have conferences. I had one last year, and I had one the year before. Turned out really well. I also do inspirational shirts. I'm having coming out here pretty soon. It's going to be called God's Creation. But I like to encourage, I like to help people out, and especially let people know in their desires who they are in Christ Jesus.
Well, as you know, I am the host and the producer of the show. I'm an author, screenwriter, producer, director, talk show host, radio host, record label owner. What else? I think that's about it.
My name is Claire Pope. I am founder of Learn to Live. It's a community outreach program that provides provides sessions throughout the community, primarily regarding a program called Family with a Focus. And the programs have been primarily throughout the Indianapolis area. I've been doing it for about 10 years now. A lot of my sessions are designed to help support, enhance, and strengthen the family unit as a whole. I am a mother of 4, grandmother of 5, and I just really enjoy being involved here with Denise and the ladies today.
Understanding domestic violence and abuse. When people think of domestic violence, they often focus on domestic violence.
Right.
But domestic violent abuse occurs when a person is in an intimate relationship or marriage, tries to dominate and control the other person. You know, when I think of domestic violence and abuse, I don't think about the different types. I just think of violence. And I think a lot of people just think of violence. But there's so many aspects to domestic violence and abuse.
Mm-hmm.
Have you guys ever suffered or know anyone that has suffered domestic
have.
violence?
And it's true.
And how did you get out of it?
Well, it's difficult, and I'm gonna explain that to you ladies. It is or men, it can be difficult, but you have to first recognize that you are being abused. And my abuser, it was always more verbal. And that's the part they don't think about. They
Right.
don't realize, oh, you're stupid. No, he didn't say that because I was a fighter. But for women who are, they know you. They know how you, that they can say certain things and they can get away with it. And it's nothing but to tear you down. And so, fortunately, you know, I knew I was in an abusive relationship and I was trying to get out, but he just wouldn't let me be. So luckily for me, I found a new man and he handled it for me. But it wasn't no fist fight because he was a punk. Because most men that are abusive, they will not fight a real man.
They
ain't gonna do that.
They know who they can mess with.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this one that I had was much younger, much bigger, and he would say little slick stuff like, you got something that belonged to me. And so, at the time we weren't married, but he was like, well, come and get it. I said, he ain't coming. And then the next time, well, you know, we in love, and you need to back up, well, you know. So once he seen that he couldn't punk him by verbal, he just kind of went his way. And even with that was my second husband. I had 3 husbands, y'all. So you clearly see I don't go through too much of abuse. But anyway, the third husband, that boyfriend, even though we had broke up and had been broke up for years, but me and the husband that, you know, had an altercation with verbally, he seen that he and I weren't together, he tried to come back. But by this time, I done got my third husband. So he couldn't whoop him either, so he just kind of went on and then he died. So, you know, that's how I got out of mine.
Okay.
Well, there's a lot of people that are not that lucky.
Not that lucky.
Exactly.
God will make a way out of a way. Took him on down.
That's true.
But you know, they talk about domestic violence being used for one purpose and one purpose only, and that is to gain, maintain, and take total control over you.
And that's true.
Exactly.
And you know, some people just don't understand that. They don't
Right.
realize that. And that's what we want to reach out to the listeners out there, the viewers,
Yeah.
to let them know the different types of abuse and, you know, the signs to watch out for before you actually get in that situation.
And I'm gonna tell you this, how I got trapped. This, like I said, I was not really that young, but what it is normally for me, and a lot of people I've talked to who've been through it, they befriend you. They act really nice towards you, and when you do one little thing that they don't like, they hit you. That's to intimidate you, and then you kind of back up. You're like, oh, wait a minute. And that's where the fear comes in. Then it's pretty much.
It's interesting because I tend to lean toward the issue about abuse based on the male influence that has been involved in maybe a lady's life, a woman's life. I know for myself, I was raised with 5 brothers, so I was the only girl. So I learned early on how that I needed to communicate where I stand with different issues, because I had not just 5 different brothers, but 5 brothers with different personalities. So I learned early on to defend myself. I learned early on to speak up for myself. I learned early on to have an awareness of what is acceptable and unacceptable behavior towards me. The thing that caused me to have to deal with the issue of domestic abuse or any type of physical abuse at all stemmed from the fact that the guys, like you said, we knew each other, and then we got in a relationship. And then once we got into the relationship, they started to maybe do certain things, little things, to kind of fish me out. Like you said, a lot of times they know who to bother with. A lot of guys thought that if they messed with me, my brothers would step in. That wasn't necessarily the case, but that's what they
didn't
thought.
know that
They didn't know
because
that, but
brothers normally do.
Exactly.
Right.
So they look for you if you kind of away from family, you kind of isolated, left to yourself. They ask questions to determine, who has say-so in your life. And once that all kicks in, then that's where the control factor comes in. Then they start to define who you are, what you can do, what you can't do.
And it's always, sorry, I didn't mean that.
Yeah.
I love you.
Yeah.
You my baby.
Yeah, I think I was probably. I know there's a big issue about abuse, domestic abuse, or relationship abuse with teenagers now.
The
big issue with that. And I know for myself, my first experience probably, in terms of the control factor, probably kicked in when I was about 18, when I was dating a young man who was, probably 23, something of that nature. And so when I realized that, in terms of learning how to date as an adult, that there are some issues that needed to be balanced in the relationship. And when I saw, going back to the individual and what they want and how they're going to define how they'll be handled, when I saw that there was an imbalance in the relationship, I started to back off. That's when the control factor kicked in.
When they feel like you're leaving them.
Exactly.
That's when they really act a fool.
Exactly. We had became friends, so they knew if they stepped up, I would step up too. But when it came to how they redirected, how they defined the relationship, in other words, I wasn't their friend that they were dating anymore. I was their woman that was to be owned. And once these little behaviors started kicking in, it's interesting because at first I was like, with my first encounters, I was like, are you crazy? What you doing? You tripping? The fear factor came in one time when I was working at my job. It was a fast food place. The guy came up, we had broke up, but he came up to my job to pick me up. And
they slick as goose grease.
Yeah, and it was fast food. It was late night. We was getting off at like 1 o'clock in the morning. He says, I'll just wait, give you a ride, no big deal. I'm like, okay, but the location of the restaurant, the back end of it was isolated. And so it was 1 o'clock in the morning. I'm getting in this car, and he does something he hasn't done before. He's got to, they got to find these ways to manipulate. And we got in the car, and the manager left. And so we're on the back end of this restaurant, parked, and you see nothing but land. And he's not starting the car. And I'm like, what you doing? And so he just kind of sat there, and he kind of got in a mood. And somehow I found it within myself to say, I need to go home. So whatever it is you're going to do, either you're going to take me home or you're not. And I found it within myself to get up out of the car and gave him the impression that I was going to walk. And that's when he started the car and he took me home. But he knew my family knew him. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
so that's
but
what
see,
that
I had a bigger fool. I'm telling you, they come in levels.
They come in
different
shapes
levels.
and sizes.
Because he called me, and I was dating another guy, because we were broke up, as far as I was concerned, not in his sight. And, you gotta go with me, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, this don't sound right. But I was trying to keep the peace. And that's, and people say, well, don't be friends with them. But when you go through domestic violence or even verbal violence, you can call the police all you want.
Right.
But guess what? If they don't catch them actually there,
Right.
there's nothing done. So in my mind, okay, he's a fool. I know he is. Let's just try to be cordial and just keep. And I don't know if that's the best way, but for me, I was trying to keep him at bay and keep him happy, even though we weren't dating. But he found out about the other guy, so he called me, and something told me he ain't right. So we don't condone violence, but I did put a knife in my sleeve.
I don't blame him.
Because I knew what he was, and then I wanted to take my foster daughter with me. Now she don't need to go, so that was another. Why wouldn't she be able to go? We
There's
just going
signs.
over here. It's a sign.
People
Why?
need to pay attention to different
Signs, yeah, when they don't want you to, your children to go with you, or then you better pay attention to that. Something ain't right with that.
Right.
So I knew then he up to something, but I'm gonna give him the benefit of the doubt. And we got. I started laughing at what she said about that isolation. We going down,
Yeah.
and all of a sudden we off of 16th Street. I don't know if y'all know where that Polar Ice Company is, right there. Well, he turned up in there, but I didn't see the sign, and all I seen was dark and trailers.
Yeah.
And this nut stops the car and says, I could kill you and put you in one of these trailers and they wouldn't find you for days. I'm like, oh, no. He's really done wrong crazy, so now what am I going to do? I said, well, I got this knife, but if I don't stab him good, he going to really get me. So we bickered a little bit and finally came out. And we was on 16th Street. So anyway, I was, in my mind, is trying to be his friend, knowing that he's no good, but he's not going to leave me alone. So in my mind, I'm thinking, well, if I be his friend, things will be okay.
And see, that's the thing that people need to realize. If you're done with someone, be done.
Exactly.
You don't be friends.
But-
And if you have someone else, if you continue to see that person, you're going to end up getting that person hurt, getting yourself hurt.
Right.
So if you're done, be done.
Well, but that's true. But it goes back to this idiot. And he's the only man out of my whole encounters of being this crazy and, domineering and everything. Okay, I was going to be done. I'm going on with my life. You see this split right there? That's because he caught me with another man. Bam! Hit me on my mouth, split it open. I looked like Marge Simpson. It didn't matter. I was going on with my life. I was leaving him alone. But he would be sitting in front of my house, or he'd be up the street from my house. It got so bad that one day he went and borrowed a friend of ours' car that I didn't know. He come up the street. I'm walking up the street with heels on, so you can't run. I didn't realize it was him because I didn't recognize the car. Next thing I know, he done kidnapped me. So it can get really, really ugly.
Now,
It
did you
can.
see any signs before you actually got involved with this person?
No. He was wonderful. And then, bam, that one hit put me in fear. And then it don't, it's not like, abuse is not like, oh, they just beat you over and over. It don't work like that. They nice to you, they buy you things, they take you out to dinner, you are everything, you on a pedestal, you are my boo. And then the next time, see, he didn't hit all the time, he would try to talk, shit all the time. Now he did do that, but I was a shit talker too. So, for my abuse is when he thought I was leaving or I didn't want to be bothered with him. He was willing to go through anything my mouth could say or I could do. But if he thought that I was like, I'm done with this, because verbal abuse to me is worse than physical abuse. Because you heal up from your wounds. I healed up from them. But some of the things, it takes years to get over it. So, yeah. It can get, I got some stories that, damn, you don't want to take up all the time, go ahead. It can get real ugly. And I even had, the only time he got caught, that's the time he kidnapped me. And his dumb butt took me over to my sister's house because he was going to me give him some money. I said, well, I ain't got no money. I tell you what, take me on my sister and see, that show he's stupid. My sister and mother couldn't stand him. And When she opened that
There's
door, I ran.
one thing about abusive relationships that we have to keep in mind is that the most telltale sign is fear of your partner. If you feel like you're just not safe being in their presence, you got to walk on eggshells. You're constantly watching what you say, what you do, trying to avoid a big blow up. All of that is your red flags.
Right.
Regarding these relationships. Chances are the relationships are is going to end up being unhealthy or abusive. Other signs that that may be an abusive relationship, including once again what you said, who he belittles or tries to control you, as we said earlier, and feelings of self-loathing, helplessness, and desperation. You know, these are the red flags that you have to know for yourself. Primarily male or female,
Right.
that that it just stands out more so, that those feelings stand out more so than normal.
And we always talk about women, but there are men that are in these
Yes.
situations as well.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of times men are too afraid, too embarrassed to talk about it, to
Yeah.
let them know, let people know that they're being abused. But it does happen to men as well.
Yeah.
Exactly. I know one of the things that I had to learn to do is just that. You know, when I start feeling helpless or desperation, when they're around, when this guy is around, I'm not desperate when he's not around. I don't have anxiety when he's not around. It makes a big difference, male or female. It makes a big difference when you're able to tune in on yourself and be able to pick those signs up in terms of self-awareness
And when it comes to family members, sometimes that person don't see it, but the family can see it.
Exactly. Oh, yeah.
And your friends.
Exactly.
Like I said, because I'm so strong-willed, I was fighting back. He battled me down, but it took a long time. But as being a friend, you try to tell them, this dude ain't right, or this girl is not right.
Yeah.
And a lot of times we don't want nobody to know I made a mistake.
Right, exactly.
I love him. He's the world's best when he really ain't.
Right.
So all I got to say is, when you see or you even feel like, that you're nothing because they say you're nothing. Like I said, the verbal, I had more physical abuse because I could give out the verbal just as well as he could.
Right.
So, but some women aren't capable of doing that or won't do it.
Right.
So mine was, you had to, hit me or, he was like, I would say, that damn mouth of yours. Well,
Right.
My man.
But I also know that, like in a friendship with someone, there's also can be control in that as well, because sometimes people only want you to be friends with them. You can't have any other friends and things like that.
Right.
So, you need to look out for signs like that as well, because you don't want to be friends with someone who wants to control who you're with and things like that.
Right.
That's not healthy either.
Right. It's not. And it puts you in a hard shape. I've been through that. I've talked to you about it.
Right.
I have been through, well, if you're her friend, you're not my friend. Well, you know what? I am 53. You're whatever age you are, I'm sure you close to my.
Right.
We ought to be past that kiddie
Exactly.
mess. You can't be her friend, or it's not so much they'll say it, but the
way
attitude to the change. And,
Right.
man, everybody got time for that. I'll be like, well, you know what? I'm going to be her friend, and if you don't want to be my friend, I have no problems with that either.
Exactly.
So, yeah, abuse can be so dangerous.
I look at abuse as not only physical. I've never been physical abuse, but I have been emotional and mental. And a lot of people, they discard it. They think physical is just the worst one.
Because that's all people think
That's
about.
all they think about, right? And emotional to me is more, not really even verbally, but emotionally. It's more, or mentally, it's more like your self-worth is destroyed, just like you have here. And it's more like you're lonely, you're depressed, there's nobody out you can reach out to, you're listening to what that person's saying, and you're abused that way. But when I was younger, I felt that I was mentally abused by my first kid's father. You know, he stole from me, he took from me, he did all these things, and it just mentally abused me, you know, and I was like destroyed by that, my self-worth. But I think that a lot of people get it mixed up with the emotional abuse and physical abuse, and, you know, because to me, they're all the same to me. You know, like I said, abuse is abuse. And this one couple, I was about 26 back then, but I lived out east back then. And this is talking about the younger group. And this one guy, him and his girlfriend used to sit on the porch all the time. And I would see kind of straight through him, but the family never saw this, but I did. Anyway, he ended up killing the girl. But anyway, yeah, it was real bad. But I saw the signs of, he was telling her what to wear, what not to wear. He was telling her, no, don't go here with this friend or that friend. She was probably about 16, 17 at the time. And I saw her for like 2 months, you guys, and it was crazy. And this happened in Indianapolis. And one day they found her over in the field. You know, he had stabbed her with a screwdriver. And yes, and it was young. They were young, and that was years ago. You know,
and more than likely, he probably seen that in his father or boyfriend.
Yeah, but the family didn't see it though.
But you would think that if you grew up in a household where your father abused your mother, you would grow up and not be anything like that.
Right.
But they do that.
Yeah.
You know what?
Yeah.
You would think it. I know some kids, their parents were drugs. They did drugs. They suffered by the hands of their parents because, you know, when you're on drugs, it wasn't so much physical, but, you know, you don't have gas on 1 month. The next month the lights are off, or hell, all of it's off because they're doing their drugs. So, you know, but they turned around and they started doing drugs too. And I was like, how did that happen when you have, you know, you went without food. You know you didn't have, you know, proper clothes. You know that you wouldn't have your lights on and your gas, but you still turned around and did what your parents did.
Well, I want to talk about something, and I'm not going to give her name away, but she was on our talk show today, and she talked about this guy that she met, and he had told her that he had been in the Marines for 9 years, and they got married and everything, and then she found out that that was a lie.
Oh!
He had been in prison for murder for 9 years.
Oh, shit.
And
whoa! I wasn't expecting that.
Very abusive to her, and threatened, you know, her parents, his parents, and things like that. So it's just like, you know, it just tears me up inside to hear people having to go through stuff like that, because
she had no idea.
I can't imagine.
Wow.
I think didn't she say she had only known him for 3 months or something like that, or something? I don't know.
They've been married for 3 months.
Yeah.
But they had dated.
I don't know how long they dated. But it's just like, I just can't imagine going through that.
Girl, that's scary right there.
Wow.
So
that's why I tell women, you need to know who you
Yes, you need to take your time when you meet someone.
Yeah.
Get to know them. See how they're out in public with their family. Just pay attention, because there are signs there. You just may not want to see those signs. Are you too busy being in love that you don't pay attention?
And
but
ladies,
you can pay attention.
Ladies and gentlemen, if that mother tell you not to fool with their child,
then you better not fool with
you
that
better
child.
keep it moving, because mothers normally don't talk about their children.
Right, exactly.
So he must be, or she must be a humdinger. That's all I got to say. And I know a lady, her son called himself liking me or whatever. She said, "Do not fool with him."
Right.
I said, "Okay, that's all I need to hear." Once again, if you have a man that's humiliating you, yelling at you, now, you know, excessively, not, you know, you're going to get into it. But when you got it like that, criticize everything you do, push you down, you fat and you're ugly and you don't cook dinner right, treats you badly and embarrasses you, deliberately embarrasses you in front of your friends, in front of your family, ignores your accomplishments, anything you've done that, you know, everybody else like, you did that good, and here this fool comes talking about, Now that one, shit, you ain't doing nothing.
And a lot of men do that too.
A lot. And you know why they do
And I
that?
think they're intimidated
Yeah.
that you're gonna just move on, move up in life, and
Right.
move on from them.
Yeah, I think
They
that's what
want
it
to keep
is.
you where you depend on them.
Right.
Well, there's another aspect, because we're talking about abusive relationships, and one thing that we've forgotten to touch on about abusive relationships is the fact that now you have children
Oh, yeah.
abusing their elderly parents.
Okay.
And so, once again, we're talking about the telltale signs. The signs when you have your children that, you know, they usually they can start off early on, you know, prior to adulthood especially. But, you know, when you have your kids demanding of you, any of the behavior that is considered abusive, excessively abusive, even from your own children,
Well, you know what happened to Marvin Gaye?
needs to be.
It didn't end well for him. April the
Exactly.
1st. Yeah,
So,
you're
yeah.
right about that.
Yeah, so when we look at abusive relationships, it's not just that male-female thing, it's the act itself.
Right.
You know, it's the mindset itself. You know, what is it that I get from you that, you know, by keeping that, being dominating you gives me some type of satisfaction. And so to me, it's universal. It can go in any form, in any fashion. You
And
know?
then this is a good one when they say they blame you for everything that could go wrong or has gone wrong or they thought went wrong. They blame you. It's
Right.
never their fault. It's
Right.
never nothing they did.
Right.
So, you know, if you got a man or a woman that's doing you like that, you really are starting, if you're not in the abuse, you're starting to get into the abuse.
And then there's another way to tell if your partner's violent behavior or threats. Does your partner have a bad, unpredictable temper? Does he hurt you or threaten you or hurt or kill you?
Right.
Threaten to take your children away from you? Threaten to commit suicide if you leave?
Oh, yeah.
Force you to have sex? Destroy your belongings?
Yeah.
You know, some people, they do these things. They have a really bad temper. You don't know when it's going to flare up. You're afraid to say this or you're afraid to say that because you don't want to set him off.
Right.
You know, if you're with someone like that, 9 times out of 10, you don't need to be with that person because
No.
eventually he's going to hurt you.
Yeah, or kill you.
Yeah.
Or attempt to. That happened to a friend of mine. I thought about it when you was talking about the young lady that got killed. It was just God's grace and mercy. She worked for a school. We worked on a school bus. And her husband flipped out, went up to the school where we had our buses, the terminal, and was arguing and fussing with her and put her in the car. They lived not far from the terminal and took her home and locked the door because he was going to kill her and himself. But she was able to some kind of way get away and get out the window, and he shot himself in the head. So you just never know what you're dealing with.
You never know.
You never know.
You can get away from the situation. It's crazy, but they still come back and stalk you or try to find you.
Well,
Or
that's
they
what
can
I'm
hurt
talking
your,
about.
or they can hurt
Yeah.
your family members. So
Oh, yeah.
it's just so
Oh, yeah.
important to pick your mate wisely.
Yeah.
Do your research.
Yeah.
And then sometimes it's not even that they were a bad person. Something could have triggered them.
Right.
They could start doing drugs because something triggered them.
Right.
And that they weren't a bad person, but they turned out from whatever this happened to them or whatever they think they're going through, they could just flip out on you. So you just don't take it as you just have to, what you do need to know them. I always say my motto is be their friend
Right.
and then see where it goes from
Right.
there.
And then also, you know, think about the controlling behavior.
Yeah.
Is this person jealous or possessive?
Right.
Control where you go, what you do. Do this person try to keep you from your family and your friends? Limit your access to money, the phone, or the car, and it constantly checks up on you. If you have a partner that's doing that, you need to run.
I hate to tell it, but I got a story about that.
You need to run because it's just ridiculous.
He did me the same way. He would go to work. He had to work and I worked days. He would work and call all night. And I'm like, dummy.
And some people take that as,
Oh,
he's
he
just so
loved me.
loving.
Yeah, no, that wasn't it.
much. No, that's
He just
not.
wanna talk to
He
me.
just want to make
Just like
sure
talking to me.
where you are and that you're not with someone else.
And like I told him,
Well, what about the females, though?
they the same way.
Yeah.
Same way.
But you hardly, you don't hear it
Thank
as
you for
much.
tuning in with us today.
I hope we have educated someone that may be suffering domestic violence, or someone that you know that may be going through domestic violence and see the signs. If we have inspired you in this segment today, let us know by sending us an email to dhpublishingco@gmail.com, or you may like us or comment on our Facebook and Twitter page. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel so that you will not miss an episode. Thank you, and may God bless you.